The Supreme Court heard arguments today over South Carolina's congressional districts.
Yeah, the case centers on a lawsuit claiming that our state's Congressional District 1 was racially gerrymandered. That means drawn to try and dilute the black vote. A lower court had previously agreed ordering the District 1 lines to be redrawn. Well, today at the U.S. Supreme Court, the 6 conservative justices appeared skeptical of that earlier ruling. Here is a little bit of what was heard in court today.
We kind of think that your argument is that racial data was really kind of driving this because they didn't have a robust set of political data that they were drawing from in order to do this.
Because in their mind, they were using race as a proxy to predict partisan behavior. That's what the record reflects.
We think the presumption of good faith is sort of baked into how the burdens work here, and also that in this particular case, the plaintiffs did have the obligation to disentangle race and politics. And we also think that the predominance standard is a very high standard that also accounts, that doesn't, find predominance met based just on racial awareness or race consciousness. And so we think setting the bar that high is what affords respect to legislatures' districting choices in this area.
The lawsuit was filed on behalf of the state NAACP and an individual voter, Taiwan Scott. Their case was presented today by Leah Aiden, the senior counsel with the Legal Defense Fund. She was joined by the plaintiffs on the steps of the Supreme Court following this morning's hearing.
I'm optimistic that the court will see its decision as easy as affirming the factual finding of the court that there was a racial gerrymandering and that Mr. Scott and South Carolina NAACP members suffer an injury and the indignity of being sorted on the basis of race with no good reason, and that they endure a representational harm having representatives think they only need to appeal to white voters in a supermajority white district.
Well, today, News 19's Becky Budd spoke with a local civil rights activist about the impact this case could have.
We're going full circle, we're right back to where we were.
Jim Felder has spent most of his life fighting for equal rights, voting rights, and voter education in South Carolina. When he heard about this latest redistricting case before the U.S. Supreme Court, Felder says it was like a journey back in time.
It's not just that equal representation, but we're talking about having my vote counted as I want it to be counted.
At issue is whether lawmakers intentionally drew congressional district lines in a way that moved black voters from the 1st congressional district into the 6th congressional district. Republican lawmakers maintain they used political party, not race, to redraw the lines. However, Felder says in South Carolina, race and politics are inextricably linked.
By keeping X number of African Americans in each district. But when you take them out of the district, that lessens the impact, lessens your voice, and therefore you get what you get here.
Felder says he's a product of the Voter Rights Act after becoming one of the first 3 black men elected to the South Carolina House of Representatives in 1970.
We only had 8 black elected officials in all of South Carolina. 4 of them were down in Eastover, and the other 4 were down in Beaufort on St. Helena Island. That's all we had in 1967. Today, there's 928 black elected officials in the state.
Once decided by the justices, the outcome of the case could ultimately influence the balance of power in Washington.
We don't want to go backwards. We've come this far, so we need to battle and we need to continue the struggle.
The Supreme Court is expected to hand down a decision by early 2024. Reporting in Columbia, Becky Buds, News 19 WLTX.